This is why the New Testament, this is why the gospel is such good news. This is why it's such good news. We are called to belong to God and then to belong to one another. We're told through our scripture that we're adopted into his family. We become part of God's family when we say yes to Jesus. And that means that salvation is not just like this personal transaction between God and you. It's a community creating event. It changes everything when we allow it to. We are saved into family and we get to choose to belong into that. So I'm going to skip a little bit because I've already said that. The second thing I want to say is that authentic community is going to be formed through discipleship. And the challenge that we have here is that you don't stumble into that kind of community by accident. And you're certainly not going to find it by just coming to church on a Sunday morning. It's not going to happen. You know, research consistently shows that human relationships work in layers. We need all kinds of different community to find belonging. You know, we need a few people who are close to you, who know you closely enough, who you can be yourself with. Because how many of you know you can't go around to anybody just being, you know, and kind of, maybe some of us are much better at that than others, particularly the extroverts. But really, it's really hard, isn't it, to be known by everybody. But every single human being seeks to know and be known. And so we know that we need a few people to do that with. You know, apparently research says that 1 to 5 is enough. More than 5 becomes a crowd, right? We know people who will know us really well, who we can be ourselves with, who we can share. And then we need a slightly larger group, like a kinship, that people who we can share life with regularly, people who can have us around at their table, Steve and Karen, for example, people who we can eat at our table and they can eat at ours. And then we also need a wider network of people, a wider network of relationships that supports us and that helps us to find belonging. And this is where the church comes in. And you know, Jesus himself lived that way. He had his 3, he had his 12, and then he had the rest of the disciples. But here's the key: our deepest formation doesn't happen in large circles. I think sometimes you can come into a room like this and think, this is enough. Your deepest connection is going to happen in the smallest of your circles. You know, healing and growth and transformation takes place when people dare to get close enough to you to know how you're really doing, what you're really struggling with, and what it is that you need help with. And so actually what this is an invitation for us to get vulnerable in community.